and welcome back to another episode of the What Was That podcast. I'm Jazzy.
And I'm Addi.
Spring is right around the corner, which thank God, because my seasonal depression is making me suicidal.
It's okay. We all get it. I'm sure we all get it. Mr. Groundhog said something, but I don't know because we're not there yet. We recorded this really, really early. But something was said, and hopefully that it was spring is sprung. That thing, you know. Phil.
Yep, fingers crossed. Spring is coming for us because I just can't do this anymore. I just can't take it.
Well, maybe until we read the stories. Are you in for a little creature feature?
I don't know if I have a choice. Let's get spooky. Story 1. Camping trip. So my birthday was recently, and I had a buddy come in from out of town to celebrate. We decided we wanted to go camping for a night. We leave at 4 a.m., and once we leave the interstate to turn onto a dirt road, it would still take an hour and a half to get off the dirt road into our campsite. But I kid you not, the millisecond we hit that road, it was straight up primal fear. It came and went in waves, but got worse every time it peaked. And nothing was said between me and my friend to add to the fear, but about 20 minutes in, he was like, "Man, I know you don't like talking about this, but I felt something for a while now," and I agreed.
Yeah.
By the time we made it to the camp spot turnoff, we agreed we both felt like we couldn't even stop the car, so we kept pushing to the next town. We sat there until the sun came up. Once it did, we felt fine. This was when he dropped on me that he'd been seeing people stand by the roadside occasionally the whole ride. I didn't see that, but I smelled stale cigarettes in waves that came and went. Fast forward, the daytime felt just fine, but night was a different story. We went to bed and all night heard people talking, then a full-on shriek, and it was done. After that, we went to sleep in the truck. My main reason for posting this is just to see if any of you have any ideas on what's going on. I will add there was a very unfortunate massacre of Native people there about 200 years ago, so I don't know if that'll help. Thanks all. So, cool. I don't know what that is.
I mean, that feels like it's a bunch of people haunting that space is what it feels like.
You're just driving through it, just ghosts everywhere.
Yeah, no, you're
Just watching you just...
There are so many movies that are like that, and I feel like I'm imagining so many in my head at once, and I'm congealing them all together. Mm-hmm. But I specifically, for some reason, I'm thinking of Haunted Mansion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know why. It's just a bunch of ghosts standing around. Yeah. You can see them all.
But have you gone to that ride on, where they have like, and you take a ghost home with you?
Yeah.
So imagine you sitting in the car with your friend.
Yeah, no, that's so we've messaged with the friends, which we'll get into, but from before even thinking about those, what I want to know what the people look like
that they were seeing.
Yeah, like were they wearing specific types of clothing?
Yeah. Was it just a shadow person?
Was it just a shadow person? Could you tell their features, or were they a bunch of men, women, children, a mix of them? And so, okay, so wait, going back. The hearing people talk and then hearing a loud shriek also is like, okay, well, that's just 200 people massacred.
Yeah.
People talking, people screaming.
Yeah.
Done deal. Ghost. Fun.
I will say, let's go down the rabbit hole of what if it's not ghosts.
What would it be?
Tired driving.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I know I can't drive when I'm really tired. I hate driving at night in particular. Because when I get tired, I hallucinate a little bit.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, not great. So cool. I don't do it. I don't know why you both felt weird. I can't explain the cigarette smell. And then if you wanted to put it in like the realm of what could it also possibly be, I'm always going to throw a mountain lion out there for shrieks outside.
That too. Yeah, when it shrieks outside, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, or another camper. Hopefully just a bunch of teenagers being silly.
Yeah.
And not some Reddit story we read next. And it's just like, and then
the ghosts came out and they were holding machetes.
Yeah,
and I knew they were ghosts because I stuck my hand through their middle section.
Yeah. I bet they get so annoyed with that.
Do you think they feel that?
I imagine so, right?
Because
I imagine they're just like
right?
wispy stuff. And then if someone walks through it, it disturbs the wispiness.
There was a movie
or
a show where somebody stuck their hand in the ghost and they wiggled it around and they were like, stop, that tickles. Or like, stop, that feels weird.
What? I don't know.
Oh my God. No, this is gonna.
It's gonna haunt you.
You said, got him!
Okay.
Anyway.
So like Addison mentioned, we had some message back and forth with this Redditor and their friend. So we're gonna read, this is a message from their friend. So OP's birthday was a little while ago, and I made a trip across the state to hang out with him. I got there and we were just hanging out, planning on taking this camping trip. So we ended up leaving about 4 a.m. to get to the camping spot. We hit the highway and we turned off onto a dirt road. The second we hit that dirt, I got this feeling in my stomach. Kind of like fear, but it was tolerable at first. But with every mile we traveled, it got worse, eventually leading past fight or flight and into this type of primal fear. It got to the point where I didn't know if I was just in my head or he was feeling it too. So I turned to him and said, "Hey man, I know you don't like talking about these things, but..." And then he cut me off and said, "Stop talking, please. I feel it too." I think this is us on a camping trip.
Shut up,
like,
shut
girl,
up.
Shut up. I already know.
We don't need to address it.
I sense it. Stop talking, please. I feel it too. So I knew it just wasn't in my head. After a few more miles down the road, I started seeing things. At first, it was just shadows of people or animals, but wrong if that makes sense. Then, while we hit a turn, I saw one of those shadows get illuminated by my headlights. It was on the other side of the river, across the road from my side, and it looked like a deer, but it was morbidly obese and its head was grotesque. Oh, okay. Could you imagine someone saying that about you, just a deer?
I was thinking about that. I was like, it's just a deer over there. And they're like, ew!
Grotesque!
Morbidly obese!
Just looking at it in fear. Well, at this point, I was white-knuckling the steering wheel, and I put the pedal to the metal. This primal fear was telling me to turn around, but at the same time, don't stop. I hadn't seen any mile marker signs for the next town in a hot minute, so I was getting ready to turn around, going about 20 before OP said, "We've got 14 more miles before we hit the next town. Let's stop there because we missed our turn." So I drove us to town, and we sat in the truck under a light post for about 45 minutes, waiting for the sun to come up. When it did, we made out the way to the camping spot. The day was normal. We noted some vertical, almost claw marks on a tree near our camp, and a lot of knocked over trees. And throughout the day, we kept hearing talking and screams from far away. We both had weapons on us, so we weren't going to let that stop our trip. Then nightfall hit, and I put out the fire, and we headed to the tent. OP saw that the fire had relit and told me to go put it out again. It was almost dark out, but I could still see without a flashlight, so I drowned the fire to make sure it wouldn't relight and head back to the tent. Not even 5 minutes later, somehow it relights. So I hop up out of the tent and realize it was pitch black outside, like uncomfortably dark. So I grab my phone and turn the light on. I start drowning the fire again while OP is in the tent. Then I hear a small knock on a tree near me. I turn my flashlight to it and see a peak standing behind it. I've seen this once before, so I grabbed my weapon and grabbed my liquid. We have to make sure this fire is out while the peak behind me is still standing there. I jumped back into the tent and zipped it up with quite literal flash speed. Then I fall asleep, and about 30 minutes later, I hear a knock on a faraway tree. I shake OP and tell him we should sleep in my truck, and he brushed me off. Then about another 30 minutes go by, I hear a louder knock on a closer tree. I wake him again, and he brushed me off again. Then 5 minutes later, I hear a loud bang on a close-by tree and shove OP awake. I tell him we need to go to the truck. He said, We're fine. If you want to go to the truck, go ahead. So I unzip the tent, and then we hear another loud knock on a tree, like, right next to us. The next thing I know, OP is helping me unzip the tent. We book it for the truck. We both have the same weapons and no lights. We make it to the truck, and we stay there for the night. At about 4, we decided to pack up and leave. On the way out, we get that primal fear again, until we take a turn getting back off the dirt road onto the highway. That's about it. I don't think I mixed anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, OP. OP chimes in. Should I do voices?
You've already done a whole story
so
with
right.
your own
Okay.
voice, so...
OP says, the talking sounded like radio talk, similar to a radio talk show. And I don't truly know what to make of the scream they heard, because it wasn't a woman's scream, which could be counted out as a mountain lion. Ooh. It was more of a man's scream. Plus, there was the occasional church bell.
The voice. We could have just read one back and forth.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, you read this next one, and then we'll go back to normal. I forgot there's 2 of us, and we're both literate.
OP's friend said, and just so you know, OP was in the tent the whole time during me putting out the fire, and when I saw the peak behind, maybe it was my head messing with me, but it was there for a solid minute or 2 before I left. That's true, I forgot about the church bells.
To add to the context, I know it seems like I could have been messing with him, but I'm paralyzed from the ankles down, so I'm very, very unmistakable in a blaze orange wheelchair. We responded to this group message, just confirming the fire was completely out and it would spark back up, full flames and everything.
Oh, me. OP's friend said, the first time it just barely lit back up. The second time it was full flames.
OP responds, yep, I'm definitely curious to see how the podcast turns out. If you ever need an episode, I got lots of stuff for my old workplace. That's good as well. Yes, please. So yeah, pretty much everything that we mentioned that it could be there, like definitely not these things. We've crossed that out.
Yeah.
We've run this through the what if it's like...
What if it's a...
Yeah. What if it's easily explainable scenario. So thanks for doing that. Because now we can jump straight to ghosts. It's haunted.
Yeah.
Maybe some Sasquatch scratches on the trees.
Maybe, or maybe... Well, no, because if you saw...
Smell
okay,
like,
wait.
Or smell like, sound like a Sasquatch scream. Okay, so not that. Well, maybe. They said it was a man.
Was that it, OP and friend? Was that the sound? I'm sorry. I'm trying to be sensitive to the situation, but you made me do this.
Anyway.
What was the sound like? Did it sound like... Or did it sound like...
Yeah. If you could just do a rendition of it, maybe record it on your phone, send it in, and we'll play it for the people, and we can all come to a conclusion together.
How many people did you see?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
What were they wearing? What did they look like? Were they shadows? Were they real
They
people?
They said some of the people that they saw were shadowy.
Okay.
And then also, can we talk about the deer? I wonder if you just, like, drove into just a hot spot of activity, like...
Well, a big massacre happened there.
Yeah. So you've got Wendigos. You've got Sasquatch. You've got ghosts. And as you drive through it, you just feel worse and worse and worse because you're just checking off the paranormal checklist. You're just seeing all of them.
What are your big 3? Oh, Sasquatch, Wendigo, and ghost.
Hot. No notes.
If anyone was wondering, Jasmine and I are both Leos. So if you ever wonder why we're so pretty and so funny and so fun to listen to, it's because we're both Leos.
Meow.
So yeah, that is super wild. I think you just walked into a hot spot that just had everything in it, and you were experiencing all of it.
Yes, hotspot.
Bus
club. Yes.
It's like, did you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No.
So the town that they're in is like a hot spot for activity, which is why every episode there's something new.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
It's like the hell something.
Okay.
Yeah, the mouth of hell, where everything just like bleh.
Fantastic. Regurgitates, just like I did. We cut that out, though.
So anyway, that's all I have to say. It's so crazy. I would like to know more of your stories.
Yeah, tell us your office stories.
Yeah, because I'm deep into Severance right now. So, tell me office stories.
Yay!
Scary.
Thank you for writing. Bye.
TTFN.
Story 2. Hiking the Appalachian Mountains at night. I joined this group to tell you about a paranormal experience I had while unintentionally hiking in the Appalachian Mountain region. A couple of months ago, my friend and I had a spontaneous idea to hike at sunset and eat Subway on the beach. Period.
Sounds nice.
We went to this place called Morse Mountain. We walked the trail for about an hour, and right when we got to the beach, it was just about pitch black outside. We hadn't thought to bring anything but some weed and Subway. No flashlights or headlamps or hiking shoes. Dumb idea, I know. Anyway, all was well for 2 hours. We laid on the beach smoking and eating, talking about life. It was beautiful hearing the waves and seeing a sky full of stars. Sorry, I heard Coldplay. I started getting tired, so I decided we should head back out. We gathered our stuff and started walking and both turned on our phone flashlights to guide our way. Not even a minute into the trail, we hear something moving in the forest to our left. I tell my friend to stop, and the sound stops. Immediately, when we start to walk again, the swishing is there, and it's matching the exact pace we're walking. So, we stop again to test if the sound is really matching our pace. I was hoping that it was an animal, just curious about who we were, and would walk away. But the sound, once again, stops where we stop. At this point, my heart starts pounding because there's no animal that I know of that is intelligent enough to match the exact pace and exact stops we're making. My friend and I turn our flashlights to the left, where the sound is coming from, and I make eye contact with something in the distance that was pale and had dead black eyes and looked like it was standing on its hind legs with terrible posture. My friend and I quickly turn our flashlight to point directly in front of us and say, "Please tell me that was an animal." Was it? What was that?
Hey, yo!
And my friend, in a very monotone voice, says, "No, we need to leave. Keep your eyes forward." For the rest of the hike, the trees and branches looked like symbols and some even like nooses. I felt like the forest was telling us to leave or at least communicating some danger to us. After about an hour, we finally made it back to the car, and I asked my friend if they noticed anything about the trees, and they also described the symbols. My friend called their mom on the drive home and said, "I'm just happy you weren't in the Appalachians." The next morning, my friend calls me and just says, "We are idiots. We were in the Appalachians at night. Last night." At night. I haven't been able to stop thinking about what we saw that night. I also want to add that my friends and I did not smoke much and we're both stoners, so we don't chalk it up to the weed. Any ideas of what we experienced?
I'm glad you included that because that was my first thought.
Flesh pedestrian.
Flesh pedestrian, right?
Flesh pedestrian.
Yep.
Case freaking closed.
Dun, dun. Yeah, I'm
That's-
glad you guys know the rules because for a while, RIP TikTok, I was on Appalachia TikTok, and they're like, here's the rules of what to do. You hear this, you do that, you keep your eyes forward. So I'm glad that you guys knew that and did that.
Yeah, on the Appalachian Trail too, my guy. That's
My guy.
yeah. You look over. I'm gonna put a graphic here, but I'm thinking of the specific like. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. What are you talking about? Show me.
Oh, I can't.
Wait, I'll just look. Oh.
That's what I think of.
Oh.
It's,
This person says it's a not deer.
well, who
Do
is
we-
that person?
This person
What
is
credentials do they have?
Wrong Jacket 8638 says.
I think we have more credentials. We have a podcast. And we're saying
We got 22 episodes of a podcast.
2 against 1 with a podcast.
Yep. What does a not deer look like?
A not deer looks like a deer that's not really a deer.
A deer that's not really a deer. A deer that's not really a deer.
You know, it just
So like
can't
an
get.
elk?
It's like uncanny valley deer.
Oh, so it's just
Adjacent.
off.
It's
That
something is
guy.
off. It just does not
That
compute.
guy.
Yeah. There's something
They
different.
just don't get it right.
Yes,
They
they're
tried.
trying. They're getting so close, but
It's
they're
like
not.
AI.
Yeah. Wow. In the world of AI, we're in a world of
It's all just ghosts answering questions.
deer. Dude, do you think that's what they're putting the ghost to work as? Is
That would be
AI?
wild.
We can't go on this tangent.
Okay.
We have to get
We
back
have
on
to
track.
focus.
Yeah. Anyway, terrifying.
Super spooky. Hate that for you.
Next story.
Glad you made it out. Story 3. I want to find out what could have done this. About 2 years ago, I went hunting. I went with my papa, and he usually gets out of his stand when he sees me walking from a trail in his field. We hunt at 2 different stands, some ways apart. Can you tell I don't know hunting? Because I was like, standing? Who's stands are a thing.
Yep. Stands. Or blinds, but yes.
Oh, blinds. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that evening, he left a little bit earlier, and I left a little bit later than usual. Anyway, I passed his stand, and I walked about 100 yards down the path. The path is about half mile long to get out. To leave when I heard my name in his voice, clear as day from his stand. I actually thought it was him there, since I never saw him leave and thought he was getting out. So I waited a bit, but he never came. So I started walking back to the stand and just stopped. I don't know why I did, but I turned to the truck and sprinted. My papa was there waiting for me. I asked him if he'd ever called my name, and he said no, since he was at the truck for about 20 minutes. He was there before I ever got to his stand. I don't know what could have said my name in his voice. I'm in southeastern North Carolina. I've lived and hunted here my entire life. I knew what crawled, runs, and flies there, but I never experienced that and haven't since. What could it have been, cryptid or not?
Flesh pedestrian.
Flush pedestrian.
I don't have anything else to say. That's it. I'm done. My work's done.
See, like, there's...
Call me Lorraine Warren.
I'm done. I don't...
I'm unqualified and give you the wrong answer.
So, we're going to do a little bit of the possible explanation that's very grounded and rooted in what can be explained.
Mm-hmm.
This commenter says that crows are very good at mimicking and saying things, so they're wondering if they saw any of that around. OP does respond, saying it was basically dark and the crows don't make noise when it's getting dark. In fact, I barely see them 30 minutes before it gets dark. They also avoid stands like the plague. So,
Okay.
that kind of...
Flesh pedestrian.
yeah, not
It's all-
crows.
I don't know.
This
I
person's
always
saying it's a mimic or a crawler. Mimics aren't crawlers. Yes, they are. Both are creepy. Both are creepypasta creatures anyway.
Yeah.
Is what they said.
I'm like it's the Carolinas. You're already in that area. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I'm irrelevant. Who cares what I think? I think it's a flesh pedestrian.
In North Carolina, but I didn't go. The house we lived in was right next to a cornfield and a cemetery.
Where did you live at in North Carolina?
Winston-Salem.
Oh.
Technically, it was Pofftown.
Uh-huh.
But it's right outside Winston-Salem.
I went to North Carolina, a couple times with my dad.
Yeah.
He was working in the Carolinas between North Carolina and South Carolina.
I wonder if we were there at the same time. I was there in 7th grade, which is ballpark 2005, 2006.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I was there in like 2013, 2014.
So I wasn't there, but Allie was off and on during the summers.
Interesting.
Have fun. String theory applied to us.
I wonder what our exact string theory is. When we die, they'll probably tell us what our string theory was. Mm-hmm. I wonder what it was.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to see all the connections.
Yeah. Anyway.
We have to move on, but I have
We
another
have to move on.
I have another thing on that for later.
But that's all. That's what I think. I think it's a flush pedestrian. And again, if you're new here, that means a...
Can you type it and it's okay? That means this.
Yeah. You have to be watching, though.
Oh. I don't know. Figure it out. Think about it.
Yeah.
Flesh pedestrian. What's another word for both of those?
Yeah, it's just swapped.
What, like...
Yeah,
dermis stepper.
You
like
dermis.
Yeah, like your epidermis.
I'm only ever from now on. That is what is going to be called.
Yeah,
a dermis stepper. We're gonna make stickers.
Dermis
stepper. We heart dermis steppers.
Dermis stepper March 2022.
2022? Are we going back in time?
What year is it?
What year is it? 2025, bitch.
Oh my god. Time flies by when you're having fun, I guess.
When you're a Leo. Story 4. There's something stalking the woods around my house in northern Michigan. I live in northern Michigan. I just want to get on here and tell some little stories that I have experienced while living here. I just want to get an idea of exactly what it could be. I know it's not human though, that's for sure. To paint a picture, I live in a small town just below the Upper Peninsula, around 25 minutes from Mackinac. I live in a small neighborhood near the more countryside with the fields and all that. I have a giant field next to my house, and my neighborhood wraps in a small circle with a small wood in the middle. Also, a big wood across the road from my house where this story takes place. Pretty much woods everywhere, though. This happened around 2 to 3 years ago on a school night around 5 p.m. Me and my friend, who is also my neighbor from the woods across from me, decided to go exploring. Now, at the time, we didn't know, but it was private property. We were like 12 and 13, so we were just being dumb. When we crossed the road to get into the woods, I noticed 2 dark figures on the hill of the road. At the time, I didn't find it strange because there was a little house up there on the side of the road. These guys lived there, so I assumed they were just doing their thing until I started staring more and noticed something strange about them. They were about 6 foot in height, so pretty tall, but the odd thing was when they walked, it's like the back of their knees unnaturally bent backwards. They walked like they had noodle legs or something. And they came out of the woods just further up the road. Now, I don't know why I ignored it at the time. I know that it was super dumb, especially being a young girl, but we went into the woods anyway. Everything was fine, and after an hour, it started to get dark, so we wanted to head back home. It was a school night. We went pretty far into the woods and got a little lost. We kept going in circles, and we knew this because we kept coming back to the same marked tree a few times. Around the 4th time it happened, we sat down on this log for a minute, just taking a look at our surroundings and trying to get home before it got any darker. And that's when things turned bad, fast. We started hearing noises that oddly enough sounded close and far away at the same time. It was strange, we couldn't tell how far it was, but it was coming from our left. We were silent because we saw the marked trees, and all we knew it was private property, and that was also a reason we were trying to get out of there. Then, all of a sudden, we heard a loud scream. It was just pure agony, and it sounded like it was from a man. Before you say bobcat or anything close to it, I've heard them, and that wasn't it. It sounded like a man, but a little off. It was loud, sounded like a guy in his 40s to 50s, I'd say. Just to get an idea of the tone of voice, the scream lasted about 8 seconds, and then it was silent again. My friend was in tears, and we were frozen. We just started booking it a few seconds later, and where we thought it would most likely be our best way out. Luckily, we were able to see a red car on the main road through the trees, and we followed the direction to get out. We came out of the woods on the main road and crossed back to the side of the road my neighborhood was on. We were so relieved to finally be out because it was about to get dark in a few minutes, but something else happened. My friend thought it would be a good idea to scream at the woods, "Fuck you," and flip the trees off and laugh. As soon as she did that, these huge tall trees that were not thin just started rustling in a path from the woods to the road. these trees were rustling hard. I mean, all the way to the top of the tree branches were moving and fast, like something was running towards us, but we couldn't see anything at all. We jumped and bolted to my house, and that's where my mom drove her home, because we were definitely not walking near those woods. I don't know what it was, but I have many more experiences with that I believe to be the same thing, and it's gotten to the point my mom has seen it as well, in the same woods at night while looking for the neighbor's lost dog. She said all she saw was red eyes and about 6 feet in the woods. She got out of the car and it made a huge growl, so she booked it back into the car. The end.
The end. What is it?
What is it? I don't know.
Sasquatch is what some people are saying.
That's what I would feel. It's in northern Michigan. So the UP, I lived in Michigan.
Northern Michigan.
So you have your little mitt, right?
Yeah.
So you have this little guy, he goes up. But there's like this little guy who sticks out up here.
Your tip,
right?
tip of the finger.
Yeah, little tip. So he's up here. That's UP. The UP is like, it should be Canada.
It's basically Canada.
It is basically Canada. It is so cold. The lake's right below it. So you have Lake Michigan. It's in the wintertime, and the wintertime lasts so long. Not like Alaska long, but it lasts a long time. And it's pretty brutal because it's right next to a lake. But that's woodsy. It'd be woodsy up there.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's literally like a prime spot for some Sasquatch
Oh, absolutely.
hangout time.
The woods. See, I've never lived in a place that had true, proper woods.
Really?
Not really. I mean, North Carolina is more of marshes.
In Colorado.
But that's more of a forest. Like, I feel like woods have a different vibe.
Oh, you think like forest and woods are different?
I think they're different things.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
thinking like woods as
Woods is scarier to me. Woods is like very East Coast.
What is the definitive line between woods and forests?
I would say some of the shrubbery is different. Different trees. But also the amount of sunlight that comes through.
Okay.
There's some like, I feel like woods in my head is just like darker, more overgrown, just massive trees.
Okay.
And like the forest here, especially depending on your elevation, it can get pretty sparse because only certain trees can be at certain elevations.
Yeah.
It's just much sunnier, I would say.
Because I've lived everywhere. So, because I've been in Michigan, obviously. I've been to the UP. I haven't lived in the UP, but in Michigan there are woods. But I feel like it's still the same sparseness.
Is it similar? Okay.
Yeah, it's just again like different types of trees that are there, but it's very similar.
Yeah, because I
in
will
the
say like
light pollution that gets in
my head, California forest, but when I went to Massachusetts, woods.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. I don't know if there's legally a difference. There probably isn't. But
I don't know. That is an
in
interesting
my
question.
head, there's a
but
difference between the two. And like,
I think woods. This is ridiculous. Forest is spring, summer. Woods is fall, winter.
that makes sense. I follow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
follow
how
Yeah.
I'm like, woods is when it's just wood.
Woods is when it's just wood. Woods is when it's just wood.
When I picture woods, it's you're walking through a forest, but all the leaves are gone.
Just wood.
And
Woods.
it's brown. There are dead leaves everywhere or snow. That's the woods.
Forests have leaves.
If you're going into a forest, it has leaves. And maybe that's why you equate forest. Not why. Me. This is why you feel this way. No. But I'm logistically pairing our thoughts together is here we have a lot more evergreens, which don't lose their
I could
leaves.
see that actually.
So you walk through the forest and there are still green leaves.
I'll buy that.
Because of the evergreens.
I love an evergreen. So cute.
I do too. They're so cute. But I don't know what point we were going to.
Okay, so this comment Says, I was car camping in northern Michigan, Upper Peninsula, from July 2020 to November 2020. Right near you, I had a crazy experience that baffles me to this day. I have some innate knowledge of the land due to the paranoia of unanswered questions, but at the end of the day, it's still a mystery. So other people, literally one person, at least one other person has had experiences in that same area. And I'm sure there's like a million Michigan. Like this person literally says, Michigan is an enigma.
Yeah, I can agree. I lived in a tiny, tiny, tiny little town in Michigan.
Yeah.
So, like, you have your mitt, and I was, like, right here.
Near the thumb joint.
Yes. So, I was about 3 hours away from Chicago.
Okay.
Okay. So, I lived near a town that was bigger in Michigan, which is not big. It's still a small town in Michigan.
Yeah.
Called Kalamazoo. And I lived a little bit away from that.
Yeah.
But that was like the closest bigger sized town. And then about 45, 50 minutes away was Portage.
Okay.
And then like 3 hours away was like Detroit.
Yeah.
So I lived in the middle of nowhere. And there were a bunch of farms around me. And when I first moved there, I lived in this little house that was on a big plot of land with a bunch of farms and in forests and woods around me. And I don't think I was perceptive to stuff during that time. And if I was, I don't remember it because there was a lot of trauma that happened during that time. So
what year were you in Michigan?
I lived in Michigan in 2008 and 2009.
Gotcha. I was like looking at going to college in Kalamazoo because they just sent me shit in the mail. And I was like,
Kalamazoo is really cool. I went to a concert in a basement of a house.
That's cool.
For a band that I eventually was pretty big. It's called Modern Baseball. I know some people know who that is. But I saw Modern Baseball and Tiny Moving Parts and some other little band in a basement of a house in Kalamazoo.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was such a cool show. There were like 50 people there. Yeah. And everybody was crowded in this tiny little room. And now Modern Baseball, I saw them again at Gas Monkey in Dallas. And there were like hundreds of people there. And I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
That's wild. Good for them.
So, yeah.
But yeah, in a universe somewhere, there's a version of me that went to Kalamazoo. So how we feeling about those stories? Did we feature enough creatures in that episode?
I think we have featured all of the creatures I can feasibly handle in one evening. But if you've enjoyed hearing about these featured creatures that we'd featured on this feature episode, please don't forget to feature us in your lives by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all of the things that boost our numbers, you know? We have Reddit, Instagram, Facebook for now, TikTok for now,
but as of right now, maybe it'll be Red Note.
Yeah, but this is coming out the end of February.
Yeah.
So who knows? Right now, we have TikTok.
Yeah. So fun for us.
If you have your own story that you would like to tell, please email us at whatwasthat.thepod@gmail.com. Everything else is whatwasthat_thepod. Not at Gmail, _ the pod. All that jazz.
So I'm just feeling really antsy to go get some sun. Because like I said before, this winter crap is not cutting it for me. I'm getting a little antsy. Get a little warmth on the skin.
Interesting. That's a creature we didn't feature. But I actually don't know if you know this, but I hate... Wait. What was that?